Hi, my name is Kevin McDonald, and I'm declaring my independence. Independence from what? Why, negative thoughts and energy, of course. Chief among them, hate, division, and fear. You see, I know that we're all one, and together we can solve any problem, save our planet and each other. Please, join me as we come together as one and choose a better way to be. So now, let's begin with my independence report. Everybody, to my independence report. I've got a great show for you today, so don't go anywhere because we brought together a health coach and somebody that can really help you understand how to take control of your health, take control of your life, and to live a little bit better and more sustainable, as she says. And it's simple and is simply sustainable. And this is Kristy Russ. She's a health coach. She's also a pharmacist by trade. And we're going to talk about all of that. So, hello, Kristi. How are you?
Hello, I am great. Thanks for having me.
Oh, you're more than welcome. I really like delving into this topic because it is really an important I think probably it is the most important topic that we can discuss in our world today because it's changed in the last 100 years to a great degree, and being sustainable and living our lives a little bit better is harder than ever, isn't it? So let's talk about Kristi a little bit. Tell us a little bit about your background.
So I call myself the Maverick Pharmacist Functional Medicine Health Coach, which I know is a mouthful, but most people don't know what functional medicine is, so let me explain. It is figuring out the underlying reasons for why you're not feeling great, and then I help you fix those, which not only gets you looking and feeling great now, but then prevents the future issues from cropping up. And of course, those fixes are mostly non-medicine kind of things, which is why I call myself the Maverick Pharmacist. The thing is, though, it's infinitely more effective than standard medicine, which I know from having been in that space for just about 30 years now. And the strategies that I teach people help them lose the weight permanently, stop constant pain, have lots of energy, and really stopping most other health issues that are interfering with your life. And really, pretty much every health issue can be fixed with a few simple strategies. And there's nothing complicated about what you need to do. You just need to know the actual right things to do.
Be still, my foolish heart. You mean you're actually going to go at the root cause rather than the symptom?
I know, shocking, right?
It really is, because in our world that we live in, if you have a symptom, you go to the doctor and the doctor says, well, you've got this symptom, so let's get rid of the symptom and let's mask it up. Let's take a painkiller, or let's take muscle relaxers or something along those lines, and then we'll get rid of the symptom, and then you don't have to worry about the root cause. But you approach it differently from the root cause, and which does, by the way, take care of the symptoms.
That's right. And the added bonus is that a whole bunch of other things get fixed, right? So let's say if your cholesterol is high, right? Cholesterol is first of all, well, I'm not even going to go down that rabbit hole, but cholesterol isn't as big a deal as people say, right? So, but let's say, rather than taking a statin or whatever to bring down your cholesterol is generally made as a response to inflammation. So, you kind of go upstream, figure out where that inflammation's coming from. You kind of stop that. The cholesterol goes down, your blood pressure goes down, you're sleeping great. Like it just all, it's like, yeah, it's the upstream thing. Whatever's happening there affects everything down below. And so if your body is working properly the way it's supposed to, because it's meant to heal and repair itself, right? So if it's working the way it's supposed to, then the side effect is you're feeling great.
Well, the interesting thing is that I believe, because my sister's got this problem and I had this problem as well, is we've got what they call an undiagnosed or undiagnosable um, inflammation issue. And they do not know, when you talk to them, they do not know where it comes from, why you have it. My sister's been told, well, it's genetics. It's the genes from your mom and dad. That's it's given you this inflammation, and there's really nothing other than taking like an anti-inflammatory drug or steroids or something like that. They don't really know how to fix it. They don't know how to get your inflammation down. So I think inflammation is something, because it's not a focus of theirs, they don't talk about it a great deal, but I think it affects us. It affects all of us to some degree, don't you think?
Oh, for sure. Inflammation is really the underlying cause of pretty much every issue that's out there. I think that's been fairly well documented by now. And just how your body responds to it depends on your genetics, right? So, inflammation in one person can show up as joint pain. Inflammation in another person can show up as an autoimmune disorder. Inflammation in somebody else can show up as high blood pressure or whatever, right? And it's just all of that, and then and bringing down that inflammation, kind of helps all those other things. And so, yeah.
It's as an example, I've got because I'm a guy, and my sister's got the same exact problem. And if you look at our medical history, she's had back surgery, I've had back surgery. She's had both her hips replaced, I've had both my hips replaced. And so she's 5 years ahead of me, and so now she's had neck surgery, and she's also had another knee replacement. And so I'm trying to figure out how I can avoid, because I get to look into the future because it's my sister,
Yeah.
how I can avoid some of these issues. So you can help me as well as help the rest of the audience, because I think we all have got some underlying inflammation, and some of it comes from our environment, comes from the foods we eat, comes from everything around us. Is not designed to be very helpful to us, is it?
No, for sure. I mean, we are faced with so many toxins, for lack of a better word, now than our ancestors ever were. So not only are we, and all of that means your body's having to deal with more fires, right? Like, you just equate inflammation with the fire. And so it has to deal with that. And then also our nutrients. Like, we have way more toxins that we have to deal with than we ever did. And the amount of nutrients in our food, so toxins are going up, nutrients in our food are going down, and that whole disparity is just making things that much harder. So, that's part of the reason why, because people are like, oh, my grandma lived to 102 kind of thing. I'm going to be fine. And she ate the same way and did all this other stuff. Why do I have to do this? Well, she was never exposed to all the stuff like when she's growing up. Everything's cumulative, right? And even like 60 years ago, we had way more nutrients in our food than we do now. There was a study I saw, and this was, gosh, 5, 6, maybe even 10 years ago, where they looked at, they picked apart different foods to see what nutrients were in them, and they sort of compared it to 60 years previous, right? And the discrepancy was amazing, like, and horrifying, really. One thing stuck out of my brain, and I don't know why I always remember this one, but the carrot. Let's say you would need to eat 20 something carrots to get the nutrients that you would get from a single carrot 60 years before that. And like I said, this could have even been 10 years ago, so it's probably that much worse now, I would say. So that just sort of means that, and so, that's one of the reasons, or those are two of the reasons, that it's actually no longer possible to to get all of the nutrients that you need just from the foods that you're eating. So, you know, 50, 60 years ago, a multivitamin was kind of, something if you weren't eating very well and that kind of thing. And now it's a necessity. Like if you want to be healthy and you want your body to repair itself and get rid of that inflammation, you have to be taking your nutrients in from somewhere else because you're not getting them from your food.
It's amazing. And even somebody that will say, but Kristi, I eat organic. I shop pick just one, Whole Foods Market, and they have got organic stuff and organic chicken and all of that, and that's what I eat. And then and then I'll say, well, but do you realize that has jet fuel in it? And they're like, no, it doesn't either. And I said, well, let me explain something to you. Jets fly in the air. They exhibit, or they blow out exhaust out of the back. The exhaust hangs in the air until rain takes it and puts it into the soil. Then it goes into the soil, and then it is absorbed by the plants. Hence, that's how you get jet fuel. And it doesn't matter if it's organically grown or not. Am I wrong in that?
No, that is correct for sure. I mean, for sure, if you're doing organic, like you always want to pick organic if you can, because again, the less toxins, I mean, there's still other things that are less toxic about it, right? And the less toxins you're introducing into your body, the less your body has to deal with to clean out that garbage, right?
Right.
But but and don't get me wrong, the foods that you're eating are important. Your food choices and those like the getting the nutrients and the food choices are probably my top two things that people aren't getting right unknowingly, and that's what's causing most of the health issues. I would say those are the top two things. And so even if you're eating the perfect diet 24/7, you're still not getting those nutrients. But it's important to eat that good diet most of the time because that's the macronutrients like the proteins, the fats, the carbs. Because the way your body reacts to those ratios and what you're putting in and the quality of those proteins, fats, and carbs, the way your body reacts to that is important. And the food choices that we when I say we, like as a society, generally make, and the way that I was taught growing up, the food pyramid, the way that the healthy diet is very not healthy. And I don't understand. They've changed it, and I thought, oh, good. Now they're finally going to tell people how they really should be eating. And it was a minor little change, and it's still horrible. Most of my clients come to me on a healthy diet, and it is compared to the average population. It's quite healthy. But then once we make those tweaks of knowing what those right food choices are, and like I said, it's not hard, it's not difficult, it's just knowing what those right food choices should really be. It's a whole turnaround, and that inflammation goes down, and all of that kind of stuff. So it's important, the foods that you eat, for how it's reacting in your body, but it's not as important for the nutrients because you're really needing those also. Obviously you do get nutrients, but you also, to be optimally healthy, you need a good quality supplement. And I do stress those words, good quality, because most, especially when you're talking multivitamins and things like omega-3 and that, it's just total garbage out there, and you're either going to make situation worse or it's not going to be doing anything. And price doesn't generally tell you whether it's good or bad. Most of the there's no regulation there, so most of the stuff out there is kind of like bleh. Not worth the money.
That's right. There are a couple things that struck me as I was doing my research. Number one, the FDA does not employ scientists to double check to make sure that the food that we're eating or the supplements that we're taking are genuine and real and good. A lot of times they rely upon the studies presented by the company itself as far as what they take as gospel. and you're nodding your head, so I'm assuming that so far I'm
Yeah,
right, right?
that's correct. Yeah, there's no there. It's considered supplements are considered food. So as long as there's nothing in there that's going to immediately kill you, it's kind of good to go, right? And I do say the word immediately because there are some things in supplements that you don't want to have there because over even just as much as a few months, you can get to toxic levels and stuff like that. So.
Yep.
Yeah, that's all. There's no. It's not like pharmaceutical. Pharmaceutical, there's a lot of regulation there, but supplements, no.
So you have to know. Not only do you have to know what you're doing, you have to work with somebody who really knows what they're doing, because you've done all the research. And
It's hard. It's even harder now. Like in when I first kind of went down this path because of my own health woes, because I thought I was doing everything right, right? I was researching. That's one of the nice things about pharmacy. They teach you how to critically review things and throw out the bad studies and keep the good ones, kind of thing. But it's a lot harder to tell the quality of supplements now than it was even 10, 15 years ago. So.
and the labeling can
Mhm.
be a little misleading at the same time, because it's not being watched as carefully. Is that true?
Right. Because what did you say?
Because it's because it's not regulated by the FDA, and they'll say that it's not evaluated, and it'll say right there on the label, not evaluated by the FDA.
Mm. Oh yeah,
Because of that, the labeling doesn't, they don't watch the labeling as
that's
closely as
right.
they should.
Yeah. Well, see, and I, I'm here in Canada. I know here we are. You're not allowed to say that supplements do anything. Like
Same
you're
down here. Yep.
like okay, yeah. So it's not. You can't say that this could help your diabetes or this could help your blood pressure. Not allowed to say any of that, which is probably good. But also it can have like there are things like let's say you're buying a thing of I don't know, coenzyme Q10, let's say that is expensive to make properly. So a lot of those out there are just garbage. But anyways, it'll say it has, 100 milligrams per capsule or whatever. And then they go, and then, once in a while they test these and there's some third party things that will test them. And it turns out there's like none, like literally zero, and that's not unusual. Or there's like some, especially the like let's say mushrooms like reishi or that kind of thing. There's the quality of it is limited to the person picking it, right? So they pick the mushroom, but they also pick the plant that was next to it or whatever. It all gets thrown in the same pot, and there you go. And then so sometimes there's like toxic things in there as well. Like so the reishi might be in there, but then the other toxic thing that you really don't want to be taking is also in there. And so it's just like I said, it's not pharmaceuticals. They gotta meet stringent things and show that it works, show what it works for, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, that's not the case.
And it's also interesting because as a culture, we're starting to take more and more supplements, and we're trying to do better and do better and get the nutrition in our food. But unfortunately, a lot of the supplements that we take end up in the ocean. You know how that happens? Because it's not what you take, it's what you absorb.
Yeah. Yeah,
And
and I
and
tell people that I'm like, really like more than 60% of the supplements that they tested, and there was independent third party testing done. Again, I think that was about 10 years ago, but yeah, more than 60% of them didn't even dissolve. So at that point, you are literally flushing your money down the toilet. It doesn't matter what was in it. Like literally, it's just going. It's going
yep,
straight through. So.
it goes straight. So you're pooping your investment is what you.
That's right. Yeah. Well, and that's why I tell people like either know that you're taking the good stuff or don't bother. Because otherwise you're just throwing money away. You may as well just take it and burn it. So.
So let's now that we've set it up, the fact that you are in an industry that definitely needs help, and You need to be able to help people get rid of inflammation and things, and you really need an expert. You can't. It's hard to go into a grocery store to look on, as an example, if you want a meal replacement shake, and you want to lose a little bit of weight with a meal replacement shake. There's so many components that makes a good shake from a bad shake that you really need somebody who knows what they're doing and knows what they're talking about, who can then guide you in that way. So that's why you are becoming. You're not going to run out of clients anytime soon. I can tell you that.
Well, you would think. And I would say that, if COVID has taught us nothing, it's about having that underlying health is key. Like COVID's not over, this pandemic's not over, and there's another one around the corner at any time. So the best defense is being healthy, So
Exactly. So given that, if somebody comes to work with you, what are they going to find? Why is it important that they give you a call?
oh well, I tout myself as the myth buster, right? Like we've been so misinformed our entire lives about what's healthy and what isn't. And like I said, it's not rocket science to know what actually is. You just need to know what the right things actually are. Because I started having health problems and I was, late 20s, and I was living the way I'm supposed to. I mean, I've been educated extensively on, how to be healthy and how we're supposed to live and blah, blah, blah. And all of these little things came up, and just common stuff like weight gain and like massive, massive knee pain and not being able to sleep and hormonal issues and so on. It just like one thing just kept going. And those are all pretty common things. And I was like, I think I was more freaked out because I'd seen my situation in the pharmacy enough times to know where this was going to go. So that was kind of where I looked at the research, and it's readily there. You just have to look for it. And then I discovered that all the things that I had learned, including in pharmacy, was actually wrong. And just making those little changes just a few months after that, is everything cleared up. And that was 15 or so years ago, and I'm still feeling great, way better than I was 15 years ago. So that my main thing is getting people on the right track of what is the right food choices, right? Like the what we're being told, it's just not, and it's not, and once you know how your body works and what choices you should be making most of the time, and nothing is forever. There's no deprivation. You don't have to cut stuff out of your life. Like everything's moderation, because the whole thing is about making it really, getting people the right information, showing them how to easily fit it into their life so that they can do it indefinitely. Because no matter what you do, if you're only doing it for a little bit, you're going to just end up back where you were. And that's kind of where I got my little Simply Sustainable tagline, because it has to be something easy to do, easy to fit into the busy life that you have, and that you can continue to do and see yourself doing ongoing. Because if you're feeling like you're depriving yourself, you're never going to keep that up, right? So it's really about, what are you eating, getting nutrients into your body. Are you exercising? How much exercise are you doing? And are you doing the right type for what you need and what you're looking for? We delve into sleep and stress management. Stress is another huge inflammatory thing, and it's like physical stress and mental stress, and then getting the hormones balanced. So once those 5 things happen, it's like, Lord, it's amazing. If I hadn't seen the before and after with my own eyes, I would never have believed that just a few simple changes would have such a profound effect on somebody's life. I mean, it was mine. And it just sort of snowballed, right? Like I felt better, and then it was helped some of my family members, and then some of my pharmacy clients that, of course, weren't getting well with our bandaid solution of pills. And yeah, and then it's like, oh, well, there's something here. This isn't just me. I'm not the anomaly. This is, in fact, the way we should be living, and really the way we were more or less quite a, that's how we evolved, right?
How do you find a lifestyle that is sustainable? Because like I've heard different diets that are, they're really not sustainable, because you don't want to eat that way for the rest of your life. Like, what is it, the keto diet, where it's all protein based and stuff, and you really don't want to live that way for the rest of your life, because it can have negative health things as well. So how do you teach balance on what to eat and how to do it? Or do you go through and have them list everything that they're eating, and then try and guide them in a better way of either making it, or what better choices would be?
Well, when I was working one on one with people, like I did that a lot, and then I just found it was the same issues with everybody, and it was the same the basic principles of how your body is working is the same for every human being, right? So if you're a human being, then you need to eat these certain food choices, and that was really more what it was. And I like to call it food choices. It's not a diet, because that sort of has this negative connotation and signals that at some point you're going to be going off of it, right? So it's just simple switches, right? Like you're eating anyway, and it's all habit, right? Like if you think about how you eat, and you go to the grocery store, you're just picking the same stuff all the time. And like I said, most people come to me with their healthy diet because they've already, tried all this stuff, and then they're like, oh, there's some magical solution because I'm eating healthy, and there must be something else. And I always start with the food choices, and the getting the nutrients is probably the biggest factor. So, and it's really like it has to be easy. I would never ask anybody to do anything that I am unwilling to do myself. And I was like the full time working. My kids were in all kinds of activities, and we had tournaments every weekend. So you got to learn. It's education. You got to learn what to pick when you're eating out, or if you got to do fast food, there's certain choices that are better than others, right? Um, and that kind of thing. So it's just really like, I'm always about educating, because I always feel like if you know why you're doing something and why it's important, you're much more likely to do it rather than just whatever. So first of all, it's like, here's why we need to do this. And then there's like a bunch of little hacks that I've found, like in working with so many people, like what the main issues are, and it's usually time. you know and so it's like how to fit that in, no matter how busy your schedule is. So
Yeah, and that's really important, that it's comfortable and it's easy, and people can do it. How long, if somebody were to, if you were to, and I know you've got a program that we're going to talk about here in a second, but if you were to work with somebody, how long does it take really to make the changes necessary before they start feeling better?
most people generally notice some kind of improvement even within a couple of weeks, a month max.
Really,
Well,
that's
and,
great.
and not always full improvement, right? Like that would be unrealistic to say that.
It took you a long
So
time to get to the where you're at. You can't,
exactly.
you
Yeah,
can't, you can't
expecting to fix it all in a month or two is kind of crazy. So I love those people that come to me and they want to lose weight, which is it's a totally doable thing. And my whole thing is, if you're gonna do it properly, and then the weight stays off. You don't do that yo-yo thing that we've all done, right?
and
you know you lose it, it comes back, you lose it again, it comes back, and every time you do that, it makes it even harder to lose it, for that matter. But it's really about like the Pareto's principle, right? The 80-20. Like there's always room for, you know, martinis and cheesecake and, everything in a healthy life, right? Like you're not going to be one of those people that goes out, you go out with your friends and you say, okay, well, I can't have that, and you need to do this, and I can't have that. No, like go live, be. Like it or lump it, our social events and we're social animals. Most of that stuff revolves around food, and you want to be able to enjoy it, and you totally can. So it's just, yeah, and the key of it not feeling or making it sustainable is to that it because of that, and because of the way your body reacts to the food choices that you're making. Once you start making those right choices, it takes away the cravings. Like, you don't have those cravings. And so you're like, that somebody brings donuts to work or whatever, and you're like, eh, yeah, I could eat it, but I don't really, you can take it or leave it, sort of thing, right?
Right.
Or whatever your thing is. Some people, it's like the salty stuff. And so once you get to that point, and then you're just listening to your body. That's another thing we talk a lot about, learning how to listen, because some people, that's why you try a diet that worked amazing for your friend, and then you try it and it doesn't do anything for you, right? Everybody is still, there's always those little anomalies. And so learning how to, your body gives you those clues. We just aren't used to listening to them. So
Exactly. And listening, I have always found, there's an old expression. The reason that you have two ears and one mouth is because so that you can listen more, at least twice as much as you engage your mouth. So listening is a really good idea for all of us. By the way, we're talking with Kristy Russ, and she has got a program that you can go to. Go to KristyRuss.com. I'm looking at it right now, right here, and it's doable, it's achievable, it's simple and sustainable. Those are all three really powerful statements all by themselves.
for sure, for sure. Yeah, so like I said, I felt like I was having the same conversation with people all of the time. And so then I kind of, started a group program, and then people could never come at the certain days and blah, blah, blah. And then I found people weren't showing up live. They were just watching the replays anyway. So I'm like, you know what? Let's just make this a complete online program that you can do at your own pace whenever works for you, right? So again, because time for most people is the biggest issue. So it's really, and like I said, the first thing we go through is the whole food choices. So you get an actual detailed list of foods that you should be choosing most often, avoiding as much as possible, and sometimes kind of stuff, right? And we go through that, and we go through how to sort of make those little changes from your favorite recipes, right? Just there's usually simple switches that you can do. And then, yeah, and I give kind of recommendations of some brands of supplements that you could trust the quality of. And if you have this issue, then you might want to take this supplement as well, and that kind of thing. So we go way into that. It's and exercise, that's because that takes time, right? So it's not nearly as much as people think it should be. Okay, so there's like yay, and really an hour a week, like in three separate little 3 20-minute things, done. So there's like specific workouts to do, like, because there's a certain way to do it. If you've got certain issues, there's ones you want to not be doing because that actually makes your issues worse. So it goes into that. It goes into sleep. Lots of stress management strategies, how to get a better sleep, and a little bit into and gut health and hormone balancing and that kind of thing. The hormone balancing can be a little more complex, but spoiler alert, if you get those other four things right, the hormones tend to balance themselves. That's the side effect of having a nice, healthy body that's working the way it's supposed to. So rather than, again, starting at like if you've got menopausal issues or whatever, you don't start with the hormonal replacement. You go way further upstream and fix that, and then the hormonal issue will take care of itself. Because once you start getting into the hormonal replacement, you're basically almost there for the rest of your life. And most people don't want to take stuff for the rest of their life, and it can, it has risks, and it's expensive, and all of that stuff. So I really try to make it that it was everything that I know about health there. And I also highly recommend doing getting the coaching package. I have a coaching package that goes with it for 2 coaching sessions with me, so that if you're wherever, that you can take advantage of at any point of the program. So like, let's say you do have some, because like I said, everybody's different, right? So that way you can personalize it to whatever, either what your lifestyle, that you weren't able to do something, or it's you're kind of not getting where you need to be. And then that way I can really take my full functional medicine training, and because just based on symptoms and what's going on with you, I can usually pinpoint like, oh yes, just make that little tweak and that should clear everything up. So it's kind of the best of both worlds, where you get, you can go at your own pace, and it's a nice inexpensive program, and then you get the one-on-one along with it. So
it's interesting to me because times have changed. I've been on the planet for a little while now, and in the 60s and 70s, you would never hear anything about, dare I say it, your gut and poop on the radio or on TV. You would never hear anything about basic bodily functions way back when, because nobody wanted to talk about it. I remember, when you remember Mr. Whipple with the Charmin, please
yes,
squeeze the Charmin,
yeah,
and now they're talking about the same company. They're talking about you can get a cleaner butt by using our, so we're talking about it differently, and about health differently than we used to. And
yeah,
I think
that's true.
I think it's very, very good that we're talking about gut health, because we never really have talked about that until the last, I don't know, 5-10 years.
Yeah, it's true. And I kind of became the gut specialist because as it turns out, most people's guts are a mess, and that is the underlying, a major underlying issue of why they're not feeling well. And their gut's a mess because of how we've kind of wrecked our food and where our food choices have gone. So it's kind of this big cycle, right?
Oh, absolutely. And so it starts at the very basics, eating and pooping. Those are
Yeah,
the two things that you can't really live without,
it
either
is
one
true.
of them.
It's true.
So and also, if your gut isn't healthier, so that your kidneys are working good and your liver's working well, and you're cleaning your blood, because as an example, I was going to mention this earlier, but I live in Seattle, as you can tell by
Yes,
my background,
I can see.
and right next to us is a city called Tacoma, and there was something called the um, um, they used to call it the Aroma of Tacoma, because they had smelters there, and it was an industrial thing, and one of the byproducts of that was arsenic. And so arsenic was in the air, and now when they've been doing some research in the ground, in the playgrounds, and in the dirt, and they're finding elevated levels of arsenic everywhere. And
No,
so it's really, really hard to maintain your health when you've got so many toxins that are flooding your body all the time. And so
exactly.
do you advocate doing what would be called a quote unquote cleanse from time to time?
Not usually. I mean, so if you're doing what you should be on a regular basis, it's not necessary. That's what the liver does. The liver especially is the main garbage truck. And so as long as that's working well and you're not exposing yourself to too many toxins, there really shouldn't be a need. And again, like you said, is if you're and as long as you're having a bowel movement every day, it's really not necessary. Some people can benefit, like maybe at the beginning, like from a colon cleanse, because there is very occasionally, but normally I would advocate somebody just making the right choices and seeing where it goes. If you're feeling great and you have lots of energy and you're sleeping great, you're fine. You don't need a cleanse. But there is times where you're going every day, but there's actually like kind of a layer of old crap literally lining your intestines. And so somebody that knows what they're doing, because it can be a little dangerous, but doing like the actual like colon hydrotherapy, I think it's called, where
Colon
they're
hydrotherapy. Yep. Yep.
yeah, yeah. So they're actually basically like scrubbing it out, and getting. I remember one of my clients had it, and she said, "Oh, I get because she's watching. I don't know why you would do this, but anyways, apparently you can see the stuff coming out, right?" And she's like, "Oh, there was a popcorn kernel that I saw." She's like, "I haven't eaten popcorn in 6 years," kind of thing. So, so sometimes, there would be that. But most cleanses I find are a complete waste of money, because not necessary, your liver's doing it. And some of them can be a little dangerous and a little extreme, right? Like where you're drinking, like with cayenne pepper water or something for 4 days or something crazy like that. And it's like, first of all, why would anybody want to do that? But
Can't
and
imagine. Can't
not,
imagine.
it doesn't have any scientific basis to do that. And
Yeah,
I'm all about science, right?
oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. The one thing that I recently heard, I had never heard this before, but this person said, "Yeah, I need to cleanse, so I'm gonna have a cleanse, and one of the components of that cleanse is a coffee enema." And I
Yeah.
was like, "What in the hell is that all about?" Do you know anything about that?
Yes, I have heard of it. Again, I haven't researched it extensively, but there does seem to be some scientific merit there, of benefits. And but again, I'm always and so I'm sure it's probably okay. And so I'm not saying that my way is the only way to get to better health, right? I'm saying that based on science, how your body's working and how to kind of maintain that, right? So, and there's certain, so you could do a cleanse and it could feel great, and now all of a sudden your 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 body's working well and you've gotten rid of all this stuff. Um, but I think I would be more concerned about, not doing it properly. How is that going to affect your normal flora? Because you really don't want to mess that up if it's otherwise okay, right? Because if you're flushing out that, like, where's all your good bacteria? Like you need a lot. It's very healing to the gut as long as you have like the right kinds of bacteria in there. And so if you kind of mess up that equilibrium, you could really be, you could make matters worse, I guess. But there is studies that show benefits from a coffee enema. But again, I don't know that you wouldn't get there in a much easier and more pleasant way. Let's say.
I would like a much more user friendly way. Thank you very
Yes.
much.
Yeah.
So I'll just drink coffee. That's.
There you go. Yes.
By the way, we're talking with Kristy Russ, and go to her website, which is KristyRuss.com. RUSS. Kristy Russ. Go and she has got some coaching. She's got a 12-day body challenge. She's got an online program. She does one-on-one stuff, and she can help you get on track a little bit. Unless, of course, you are destined to take a coffee enema, and then you're kind of on your own. But
Exactly.
that's one of those things that that it's. I would think that's more of a fad than anything else, but that's just me.
Yeah, well, I think it's already waning a bit because that was a good maybe 3 or 4 years ago that really came out, and I haven't really heard much about it in the last year or so. So I was just going to mention if the listeners wanted to kind of know more about those 5 principles and stuff, and that on when you go to my website, there's this big green bar that says free masterclass. It's a whole, I go into a lot more detail of kind of what the principles are. I always try and give at least a couple of tips per principle to for you to do, so you can take advantage of that. It's nothing. So that's
I think it's awesome. I love your website. It looks very, very nice. Very
oh,
uh,
I'd like to say I designed it, but no.
well, you don't in this life you can't be good at everything. So you be good at coaching and let somebody else be good at web designing.
Exactly.
And so that really works. Is there anything that you would like to add before we bid adieu to our audience today?
I I always like to leave people with to decide now to do something with your life, right? No matter how much you think you're going to do it later and you think you're going to have more time, you won't. More time is a myth. Never happens. Always something coming up. And then you just end up in the same or the worst situation next year. And the sad reality is that most people don't invest the time or the money to ensure that they'll have the body and the energy they need to live the life that they love. So whatever your issue is, it's not going away on its own. Trust me, don't ignore it. Make yourself a priority and discover the functional medicine difference. It really is amazing. See it for yourself.
Absolutely, because I will tell you, I haven't had the opportunity to be 64 before. And as you start to as you get a little older, those habits you had when you were younger have a lot more of a profound impact on you when you're a little older, especially in the land of COVID when we've been haven't been able to move around as much and we can't
Oh, yeah.
do a lot of things like that. So it's there is. I had a gal on the show one time, and she was a 4-time cancer survivor, and she made a statement. I said, "What's your secret to life?" And because she'd been on the abyss several times and had come back from it each time, and she said, "Well, the secret to life for me is if you have one foot in the past and the other foot in the future, you're peeing on the present." So,
Yeah.
so the best thing to do then is to because all you have is now. You don't have the future. You don't know what the future is going to be. So make a decision and act on it today. That would be my advice. Do you
And
concur
there's
with
no
that?
such thing as the normal signs of aging. That drives me nuts. And I bet you I hear that at least at least once a day in the pharmacy. Somebody talks about how much getting older sucks. And oh, it's just because I'm getting older. That is a total myth. What should I say? It's common. It's not normal. Okay. Most people do end up with symptoms and stuff as they get older because of the way we've been living our whole lives, and it's a cumulative effect. The body can take all kinds of damage before it finally just goes like, we're done, right? But it doesn't have to be that way, and you can reverse it. The earlier you stop that and start doing the right things, the easier it is to reverse stuff. But yeah, because once you start having symptoms, over 80% of the damage has already been done. So hey, guess what? Stop it back at the 30% or the 40%, and then maybe you don't even have those symptoms again.
And it does take time
It does.
because nothing happens overnight. It takes time to work all of the toxins out of your system and to get the proper nutrition and for your body to start working in the way God designed it to work.
Mm-hmm.
It's a marvelous machine that we are. You
It
know
is
that?
the most complex machine you will ever see, no matter how great computers and robotics ever get. The human body is it's miraculous. It really is. I'm always amazed at how it usually turns out right. Like there's so much to go wrong, so it's amazing that we are actually even able to function. It's really amazing.
Absolutely. We've been talking with Kristy Russ. She's a health coach and she works with people and she's got a great program. Go to KristyRuss.com. And Kristy, I'd like to thank you very much. I could talk to you for hours because there is, the idea of, pharmaceuticals and everything else that we've got to deal with and the profit motives and all that we're not going to get into, but there's a whole bunch of stuff that is causing us, and plus the fact that doctors and you as a pharmacist know that natural nutrition is not something that they teach wholeheartedly. It's, if anything, it's an afterthought.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Forget no. I got 1 hour, one class of nutrition in my 5 years of pharmacy, and I know doctors is about the same. And we were told, again, like, I'm not harping on the supplements, but like, if as long as you eat properly, you're good. Don't need anything else. So
the soil deprivation is one of the biggest issues that we have because the same food is grown over and over in the same soil that is depleted of its natural enzymes and everything else that's in it that is supposed to be in the food that's no longer there. That's I know right. That for a fact.
Oh, for sure. Well, and even if you grow your own food, because I've had people be like, oh, I have a huge garden, I grow, I can, and I do. And, obviously it's slightly better, but it just, with all the other hoo-ha going on with the environment and stuff, we'll never be back to where we were, 70, 80 years ago.
No, we won't. And especially when they did a study on salmon, and there's jet fuel in salmon and in tuna fish. And, and I don't mean to scare anybody. It's just, you need to be aware more so. Exactly.
It's just, you can't just, like I said, you can't be like your grandparent that you just plug along or whatever. And, they only started being exposed to the stuff in the last decade or two of their lives, whereas you've been living that most of your life, really. And that kids, scary statistic, and this happened about 10 years ago, but kids born now actually have a lower life expectancy than their parents. And that started about 10 years ago. And never in our history has that ever been, because of course we had better nutrition and better medicine and, And, but yeah, because of all the toxins they're exposed to and all the other ways that we have ruined our planet. Yeah. So isn't that freaky? That, I found that crazy.
What I'm finding is that I'm 64. My best friend passed away at 64. My brother passed away at 64. There are lots of problems out there that some of it's out of your control, but all you can do is whatever is in your control, you do the best you can.
Exactly.
So, Kristi, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
I really appreciate it. If you will stay right there, I'll be right back. Thanks for enjoying this episode all the way to the end. Please give us a like and subscribe to this channel. This has been a production of kmmedia.pro. Please visit our website, oddly enough, named kmmedia.pro, for more details about us and our mission, which is to provide great positive programming designed to inspire us all. I'm Kevin McDonald, and I'm proud of these shows, and I truly hope that you'll like them and share them with friends and family. So on behalf of our entire team, remember, be kind to each other because each other's all we've got.